100 Days of Making Comics Round 3, Week 2. Greetings, people of the internet. I'm Scott with Serkworks Art Labs. Welcome, mad creators, to the underground laboratory where we create robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. And this week, or pretty much for the next few weeks, or a couple months, those threats are going to be werewolves and unicorns. Not necessarily for me, but just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, right now I'm working on the 100 Days of Making Comics Anthology number 2, Werewolves and Unicorns, and in parentheses, other mythical creatures. So what this is an anthology based on people who have completed the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge. If you're not familiar with what that is, that's where you spend 30 minutes a day, every day, working on your personal comic book project, and then you blog about it, or you vlog about it, or you just let people know on social media, kind of give people updates to hold you accountable. This was a challenge created by Kevin Cross. And yeah, it's kind of got to be kind of a big thing here in the online art community, comics specifically. So if you haven't heard of it, now you know. That's what that's all about. But the people who have completed that challenge are eligible to be in an anthology. We've done one before. It was Life in Space. It was all centered around a space theme. This one is centered around mythical creatures with a big focus on werewolves and unicorns. It's sort of an inside joke. I don't really know where that germinated from. But anyway, yeah, that's what it's all about. So werewolves and unicorns are other mythical creatures. I'm working on other mythical creatures. Mine deals with the Loch Ness Monster, and it's based on an old Police song from the 80s called Synchronicity 2. I'm kind of adapting that into a comic book story. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that's all about and sort of my process and everything. So far I've done some thumbnails. Let's see. So this is what I did last time, just these rough thumbnails. Very small, very rough. But right now what I'm doing is I'm taking another pass at those. So what I've done is I've blown these up a little bit. So now I've got like 2 pages on here, and I will show you the process of these, but I'm kind of going a little detail and trying to figure out some issues based on what I originally sketched down, because this was just to, you know, get something on paper, get the basic layout done. But after I've done that, now I want to kind of fine tune that and everything. So that is what I am going to do today. So why don't we get to that? Alright, first things first, I'm going to create a thumbnail template. Now this is an original thumbnail template that's available for free at my website at serkworks.com with the Comic Maker Starter Kit. If you download that, you get tons of free comic book brushes, comic book templates, fonts, all kinds of cool stuff. So I've already modified this once where I took the thumbnails and I kind of butted them together to make a spread. But now what I'm going to do, because I want to do a little more detailed drawing, is kind of blow this up. And that's the beauty of this file. This is an Illustrator file. There's also Photoshop files on there. So you can modify it to kind of whatever you like to work with. Just make sure you save the original so you don't overwrite that if you do download the file. But anyway, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to blow it up to like 2 pages on I don't want it too big, but I want to go a little more detailed than I did on my original pass of the thumbnails. So I think 2 on a page is good. It's going to give me a chance to get a little more detail, but still stay small enough so I don't get bogged down in that detail. So what I've done is I've printed it out. You can also import that file into Clip Studio or Photoshop or whatever program you use to make comics if you're working digitally. I am going to be doing a lot of this book digitally, but for the thumbnails I'm still doing these traditionally. So anyway, so here we go. Let's see. Now I'm using, if you see this little tool that I'm using, this is a map ruler, or just like a rolling ruler. They're super awesome. It kind of, I don't need to use a T-square. I used to have sort of a big long T-square that had, you know, these wires, these guides on the side of my drawing table. It was pretty cool, but I couldn't like take it anywhere I wanted or whatever, so this is a little more portable, and I do like this, and it just really rules out lines very nicely, so I really like this tool if you're curious what that is. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just laying out my panels. Now that was something in the first pass that I did on my thumbnails. I just wanted to sort of get an idea of where the placement, like, because I'm adapting a song, I wanted to know, you know, which part of the song, which lyrics are going to be broken into what panels and everything. So I kind of did that with the first round, but as I'm looking back over it, I started to realize, especially with the opening scene. So what it is, there's three verses in this particular song. The first two verses are going to be on the first two pages. Now what I'm doing, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm taking advantage of the spread. So the story is going to move across both pages. It's not going to, like, you don't read like one page and then move to the second page and read down. So it's going to take advantage of the whole spread. So within page 1 and 2, which is going to be a spread, 3 and 4 is going to be a spread too. But that first opening panel, because I'm trying to fit the first two verses in these first two pages that you're looking at right now, because I wanted to save sort of the ending to sort of be a little bigger of a splash. So the third verse will be on the fourth or the third and fourth pages. But anyway, what I realized when I started with this opening scene. Well, so first I've got an establishing shot, and it's probably hard to tell right now because I'm using just my blue pencil. I'm going to go over that in ink, and maybe it'll become a little more clear. But again, these are really rough, so you might not be able to see what I'm doing and make all that out. Hopefully you can a little bit. But anyway, we'll see when we get to the inking stage. But so the first page, the first panel rather, is going to be an establishing shot. So the line of the song starts off with the verse in the song starts off with another suburban family morning. So that's what I want to capture. I want to give it a nice establishing shot of just a suburban area. Nothing, too sprawling or anything. Kind of focus on one house, but you can kind of see that there's a neighborhood there and everything. And actually, right now, what I'm working as I'm talking about this, what you're looking at is the third and fourth pages. So that might get a little confusing. But once I finish this, and we'll go back, and once I start inking, you'll see the first two pages. But anyway, so you're gonna see that establishing shot. So you know we're in a neighborhood, and then we move inside to the house. Now this kind of presented a problem to me. And I didn't know exactly where to go, and I struggle with it a little bit because there's so much going on, and I don't have a lot of space to tell this story. And my idea was, because everything's happening so I'm going to read to you the lyrics to beside the first kind of verse, and just to give you an idea of everything that's going on. So it starts off with another suburban family morning, grandmother screaming at the wall, we have to shout above the din of our Rice Krispies, we can't hear anything at all. Then mother chants her litany of boredom and frustration, but we know all her suicides are fake. Daddy only stares into the distance, there's only so much more that he can take. All right? So all that stuff, now it all happens in the same scene. So my original idea was I'll just create one panel and show all this stuff going on. But you've got, one of the problems is you've got daddy staring off into the distance, and you've got grandmother screaming at the wall. So you've got, I could show maybe, those are kind of like two different directions, two different things going on. So I could have the grandmother like facing the wall, but how do you tell she's screaming? I could kind of like give her, kind of tilt her a little bit, and then, but I wanted the focus to be on daddy. You can kind of see it in this scene over to the right here, but he's just kind of staring off, and I kind of popped him out of that panel a little bit to have some impact. But what I decided to do was I wanted to show all this stuff going on, but then I wanted to create some little vignettes. So if you see these little boxes inside the panel, that's what's going on. So you're going to see a close-up on grandmother screaming, you're going to see a close-up on mother kind of yelling and her frustration and everything, and the kids at the table, and a shot of the Rice Krispies. The other thing, originally, because this is a song and I don't have the rights to it, I can't use any of the lyrics in the song. So originally the whole story is going to be pantomime, and that kind of creates that. I mean, I like the idea of a wordless comic. I like that a lot, but but then I started to think, well, grandmother screaming at the wall, what is she screaming about? Or mother shouting a litany of frustration and boredom. What is she shouting? What is it all about? Now that's not really important, so I don't want it to be totally clear what they're saying, but I do want just a hint of it, just so you can get the idea of all the stuff that's going on. So I am going to be doing some writing, but it's going to be very vague, it's not gonna, you're gonna get just a glimpse of that conversation. It's probably gonna be in the, sort of in the background of those panels behind the characters. So you see all this stuff. It might not be done with word, probably won't be done with word balloons, but maybe just a scrawling behind them of all these words and things. So you can kind of piece together different things. So just to give a better picture. So I think this gives me a good opportunity to play around with some cool type and things like that, because I love sound effects and all that stuff, but I can't really do a lot of that as far as the lyrics go. So anyway, that's the thumbnail. Now the other thing that I'm doing right now is I'm also in the middle of doing my thumbnails, or along with doing my thumbnails, I'm trying to do some concept design. Now, of course, this whole thing that's going on with this family and this daddy, his journey, and what's going on, there's a parallel story going on of this Loch Ness monster rising from the loch, and hence the name of the song, Synchronicity. These two things are both kind of separate but interconnected. They're both going on at the same time, totally separate events but going on at the same time, and how they mirror each other. So, you know, and this is the 100 Days of Making Comics Anthology 2 is Werewolves and Unicorns, and again in parentheses other mythical creatures. So I'm using the Loch Ness monster. So right now what I'm doing is a version of the monster. Now, just to let you guys know, this is not going to appear in the comic, at least not in this form. But in designing, you know I have to have a creature. So in my mind, I kind of want to play around with some different designs. So right now I'm sort of just having some fun. I'm getting into the idea of what this creature might look like, but I don't want you to necessarily see the creature, because in a lot of horror movies, I think it's important that you don't see it. Now, the original Loch Ness monster, he's a Nessie, maybe it's a she, what we don't know, because we don't know anything about it. Obviously, some people believe in it, but if it's a mythical creature or whatever, it's what we know is very limited. We've only seen these little, very blurry pictures. So, and those can kind of create mystery. So I don't want to spell out what this creature looks like. And in this design that I'm drawing now, it looks a little more like a dragon, and it doesn't, I want it to seem like it could be what we've seen from those blurry photos, but those blurry photos to me don't look that menacing. It looks like it might be like a brachiosaurus or something like that, which is a sort of a plant eater, and although it could probably crush you if it stepped on you, they don't look like as menacing as like a T-Rex or anything. But I want this to be menacing, so I think in the book and the story, I'm gonna do that by not showing a lot of it. But I do want to show. So one of the things that I'm going to accomplish by this particular design that I'm working on, even though it's not featured, is I get the idea that I want it to have like fins and kind of maybe a spine with some webbed feet. Like you may see part of the hand, because there's a part where it's crawling out of the lock, so I may show some of that. So you may see some of this stuff, but sort of the webbed fingers and stuff like that. But I want it to be like, oh, it could be that blurry thing, but it's something more menacing. And even though, I mean, to me, this particular design looks like it could, I mean, if you ran into something like this, you'd be pretty frightened. But I don't know, I don't want to show anything like that. I want it to be a little more mysterious. So this is sort of more of an exercise for myself, and just to get the idea. So I'll know that, oh, maybe we see a glimpse of this fin, or maybe this spine kind of curling over, coming out of the water and everything. Because with creature design, for me, it's a lot more frightening, a lot more mysterious if you don't see the creature. Like the original Aliens, you don't see a lot of the alien. Now that there's been so many sequels and everything, everyone knows what the alien looks like. And people knew kind of what the alien looked like back in the late 70s when it was released. And as a kid, I had like a puzzle. It came in like a little alien egg, and it was a jigsaw puzzle, and you can build it, and it made the shape of the alien. And there was the alien toys, so we kind of knew what that looked like. But in the movie, you don't see that very well. You just see little, bits and pieces of it, but you don't see it all together. Now, H.R. Giger, who designed the alien, I mean, it's kind of weird because, yeah, he put all this work into this alien, and you don't really see it. But that's the way it is with a lot of, concept designs. A lot of it doesn't actually show up on the screen and everything. So that's kind of the approach that I want to take. I want to play around with some designs, even though we're not going to see them completely in the story. So another good example is, I don't know if you're familiar with Bird Box. It's kind of like a big thing that's right now is on Netflix. This movie Bird Box. It's a kind of a suspense, kind of sort of horror movie. But there's these creatures in there that when you look at them, it just drives people to commit suicide. Now, it's kind of the same thing where these people actually, this design studio and these designers worked on the design of these creatures, and they don't appear in the movie at all. And to me, I think it's good that they didn't appear, because I don't think anything that they could have shown on screen is going to be enough to convince me that this creature is it's going to be so, whatever that creature is, that it's going to drive people to just take their own lives. But if you don't know what that is, it's something beyond our comprehension, that something like that could do that. Now, if you show it, it's just, to me, it falls apart at that point. Now, the people that designed the creatures were, they put a lot of work into it, so they were a little upset that they didn't show up. But, sometimes you have to do what's best for the project. So I don't want to really show exactly what these creatures are. But I think for my own purposes, it's good to play around with some designs, just so I can kind of, it's going to help me in my journey in creating this comic and everything. So anyway, so that's kind of what you're seeing. Again, you're not going to see this within the actual comic. You'll see glimpses of it, and you'll see it in shadow, and so hopefully that's going to be a lot more powerful. But it is fun. I do enjoy working on these creature designs and everything, and so it's I had a lot of fun coming up with this design. And ultimately, when I look at this, I don't know that I'm crazy about this design in particular. There's bits and pieces of it I like, and that's good, because that's all I'm going to be showing are bits and pieces. But it's very much like a dragon. This might look better in sort of a sword and sorcery type thing, but maybe it needs to be a little more sea creature-y. We're not seeing the total creature, we're kind of seeing, just sort of the profile. But yeah, I think it's going to be more, you're going to see more like tenderly, like a long body and stuff like that. So the other thing I did work on was some character design. So the grandmother, the part where I mentioned where grandmother's screaming at the wall. So these are some sketches of the grandmother, playing around with some different looks. One thing I found was hard to find. If you search like old lady hairstyles or whatever, you're gonna get these real fashionable hairstyles. You're not gonna look what grandmothers usually have. So I found some reference, and I was able to kind of come up with some different hairstyles. And then these are some sketches of the kids that will be kind of sitting at the table eating the Rice Krispies and having their breakfast, and they're kind of bored, and they're just just to give an idea what this whole scene is about. So those are some of my sketches that I've been working on. All right. So there you go. There are some initial creature designs, character designs, thumbnails. I feel like I'm making some good progress. Got a lot done. I'm happy with where I am right now, but we still got a long way to go. And hopefully you guys will be there along with me on this ride as I continue on and give you these weekly updates on what's going on with my comic book project. And maybe some of you people are actually doing the challenge yourself, either the 100 Days of Making Comics challenge, or you're featured in the anthology and doing work for this particular project. You don't have to be included in the anthology to actually take the challenge, but the challenge is a prerequisite for joining the anthology. Does that make sense? Hopefully. But anyway, whatever you're doing, if you're making comics at home or whatever, I'd like to know about it. Let me know in the comment section what you're working on, issues that you're facing with your own comic book projects, or just maybe some successes that you had. I'd like to hear all of that. Let me know in the comment section. I will see you guys later. That is all. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. Also, you can follow me at Serkworks on social media. Do you like making comics? Then go to Serkworks.com and pick up the Comic Maker Starter Kit. It's packed full of fonts, brushes, templates, and more. And best of all, it's totally free.